All right, here we go. Short video today. As promised, kind of earlier this morning, this video will mostly be about drugs, but we will also get into sleep and sleep disorders and stuff like that. I think where we left off was we talked about altered states of consciousness. So remember that is anytime um, your typical awake consciousness is basically being impacted by stuff like medication, drugs, even to an extent, sleepwalking and night terrors and sleep talking, stuff like that. So those are altered states of consciousness. The definition: temporary state of awareness that differs from normal waking consciousness. So again, sleep, meds, drugs, daydreaming, that kind of stuff. All right, where you are conscious, right? You are aware. Your mind is functioning, but you're in an altered state, right? So even daydreaming, right? You haven't technically really fallen asleep, but if you're truly daydreaming, you're not really aware of it, right? And it's not like, oh my gosh, this AP Psych lecture is incredibly boring. Let me stare out the window and lose all control of my thoughts. No, I mean it's an altered state of consciousness. It's really close to kind of being unconscious. Um, Unconscious subliminal processing that occurs outside of our awareness. Again, getting to Freud and defense mechanisms and repression. A lot of the stuff that we block out, that we can't really recall, it's our mind's way of kind of protecting us, right? So unconscious, stuff that is occurring outside of our awareness. So all these memories that we have that we don't know that we even have them, right? It's outside of our awareness. Maybe certain behaviors or short tempers or projections and sublimation and stuff like that, stuff that we naturally do that we're not really aware of. It's outside of our awareness, right? And that's processing our mind is doing that we're not really controlling, we're not really aware of, and that's your unconscious. Okay, so we're gonna hit up some major psychotic drugs. The first one is going to be depressants. Depressants are drugs that depress or reduce or decrease our activity, right? And anything really dealing with our central nervous system, depressants, sorry, are reducing that. So drugs that you take that slow down the heart rate or slow down, brain stimulation. You're gonna be looking at morphine, oxycodone, alcohol, opioids, any kind of sedative. Those are all reducing or decreasing activity in our central nervous system, right? Stuff that you might think about would be fatigue, tiredness. Again, your heart rate and blood pressure and breathing are decreasing. I think I said drowsiness, muscle relaxation, and kind of an inhibition or a decrease or almost a loss of cognitive functioning. You are not processing, you're not thinking, you're not cognitively aware like you would be if it wasn't for these depressants that you're taking. I'll flip the page here. Stimulants. So stimulants are going to be the exact opposite of depressants. So stimulants are stimulating the brain. They are bringing activity to the CNS. They're bringing energy in another sense. So drugs that increase central nervous system activity, amphetamines, methamphetamines, something as simple and daily as caffeine. For some of majority of Americans, maybe even nicotine. Another common drug would be cocaine, right? So these drugs and toxins, but these drugs that are bringing activity, increasing activity to our central nervous system. So if you stimulate, it's increasing, right? It's raising our functions. Again, alertness, especially with caffeine, arousal, increasing maybe some of our cognitive activity like caffeine, increasing physical activity, methamphetamines and cocaine especially, but also, I would, a lot of golfers or a lot of racers in the morning or athletes, who drink coffee to help them focus, to help them be alert, to help their body wake up before they have to do it, their sport. And it could be students, it could be teachers, right? Having caffeine before they have to learn or before they have to teach. you're probably going to see a increase in heart rate, maybe a little bit in breathing and blood pressure. As you get too many stimulants or too much, probably too many stimulants in your body, paranoia, sweats, jitters and stuff like that. Sometimes it's tough to come down from it. So a loss of sleep would be a side effect as well. Again, irritability would be something else. Too much of that, you become a little more irritable. Reduced appetite, convulsions, again, shaking and seizures. And then in certain cases, death as well. Next one would be hallucinogens. So hallucinogens will result in you breaking from reality, more or less, right? So drugs that cause distorted sensations and perceptions, so seeing things that aren't there, right? Hearing things that aren't there. Cannabis, LSD, PCP, acid. So hallucinations are basically anything you see or hear, I guess, smell, touching on your back or your shoulder, anything that's not happening, right? So seeing something that's not there, hearing something, voices that are not there. Those are hallucinations, right? Delusions are, I'm getting to this with, some of the personality disorders as well, but delusions are more ideas that are not real, right? Thinking you can fly, right? Thinking you can run through a wall, thinking you are a god reincarnated, right? So these kind of false beliefs. With hallucinogens, you might also have, onset panics. Again, always hearing a voice or always thinking someone is chasing you, always thinking something is touching you, but it's really not happening. So you're panic and paranoia, and psychosis, right? Having these psychotic breaks, having this dissociation from reality, those are kind of side effects of hallucinogens. We're going to get into agonists. Again, I know I talked about that with neurotransmitters, but agonists, are often found as drugs. So agonists, drugs that mimic the job of a neurotransmitter. So if that neurotransmitter is to speed up, to stimulate, to bring activity, to increase something, then these drugs do that almost like on steroids. Or it could be if neurotransmitters are supposed to block or delay something or reduce something, agonists would do the same thing. So drugs that mimic neurotransmitters, either by increasing what they're doing or by blocking what they're supposed to be blocking. So real quick, drugs that we abuse recreationally, whatever, are typically agonists. Bringing too much stimulation. Cocaine would be a dopamine agonist. Heroin would be dopamine and endorphin agonist. Alcohol would be a GABA agonist. Stimulants, you're going to see norepinephrine and serotonin. Stimulants are agonists for those. Hallucinogens, they're kind of a agonist for serotonin. And you might have an assignment coming up here on stuff like that. Antagonists, drugs that block, the function of neurotransmitters. So if neurotransmitters are trying to increase something, an antagonist would reduce that, would block that. If neurotransmitters are supposed to block something, then an antagonist would be increasing that. Antipsychotics, so like schizophrenia, schizophrenia, you have too much dopamine, right? So as dopamine is kind of helping bring energy and activity, to our mind, stimulating our brain. Too much of that causes schizophrenia or is related to schizophrenia. So antipsychotics would be drugs, antipsychotic drugs would be drugs that try to reduce your level of dopamine, right? So people with schizophrenia, they would be taking antipsychotics, right? And the purpose of taking antipsychotics is because they're producing too much dopamine, and these antipsychotics would be an antagonist for dopamine and kind of reduce levels of dopamine. As you get into sleep, a little review here. Circadian rhythms, 24-hour biological clock that we all have. It's related to our sleep and wake cycles. You typically wake up at appropriate times, and you typically get tired at appropriate times. Of course, that can be thrown off with different things, and especially video games. Circadian rhythms take into play, the hormones, the endocrine system, blood pressure and breathing and heart rate, and also our internal body temperature. Sleep cycle, approximately 90 minutes. Okay, so our sleep cycle, the stages of sleep go about 90 minutes for each of us. It's a repeating pattern. We're going to get into REM, REM, rapid eye movement, NREM, non-rapid eye movement stages. So again, NREM, non-rapid eye movement. So basically, it's a deep sleep, but not quite to where dreams are happening. Remember, a lot of us need that rapid eye movement to really produce these deep dreams. But non-rapid eye movement, you'll see that stages kind of 1, 2, and 3. REM, remember, rapid eye movement. This is where most dreams are taking place. Not all, but most dreams taking place. Dreams that are really vivid, dreams that are really detailed. Maybe you even kind of know you're dreaming at times. That is rapid eye movement. Okay, so as you are being chased and something's chasing you, or as you are playing, in a big baseball game or whatever it might be, or as you are packing to go off to college, like as it's almost playing out like a movie that you're watching. That's deep sleep. That's dreams. That's rapid eye movement. Incredible brain activity is taking place because again, it's like you're watching something. It's like you're learning. It's like you're observing, and your brain is very active during this. Beta waves. So beta waves, you're kind of awake, you are alert, you're highly functioning, you're performing movements and tasks. Okay, so beta waves. Alpha waves, that's going to be getting us close to sleep. Okay, so we are awake, right? But maybe we're yawning. Maybe we're getting a little bit, more towards thinking about, getting more comfortable on the couch, or pulling the covers over us, something like that. Theta waves. So those are slow waves. That is light sleep. You might hear your phone go off and kind of turn over. The TV might be too loud. So it's kind of light sleep. You can be disturbed. And then delta waves, that's getting you to stage 3. And that's more, when the phone goes off, you don't hear it. Okay. And if you fell asleep to watching a basketball game on TV, and the end of the game horn buzzer goes off, that doesn't wake you up. Okay, so delta waves, you're probably sleeping pretty well. You're into stage 3. Excuse me. Stage 1, non-REM. You start falling asleep. Maybe some sudden jerks awake because you're not fully asleep yet. So this is most of you guys who have ever fallen asleep in class. Probably not my class, but if you've fallen asleep in class and you jerk real quick and it wakes you up, yep, hey, welcome to stage 1. Stage 2, not deep sleep, but it is sleep. Again, you are kind of you're kind of becoming less aware of your surroundings. So the TV sounds, the phone sounds. In stage 3, you're getting to REM, most dreams, sleep talking, walking terrors. As REM sets in, blood pressure and heart rate are often going up because brain activity is increasing because you are typically dreaming. Okay, and I think that's going to be it for today. I am going to send out a homework assignment for the weekend. So technically, I shouldn't see you guys until Monday. I'll probably send some stuff out on Google Classroom here pretty soon about Monday, and maybe meeting again, and I can check out some of your guys' FRQs. But the homework assignment, it'll be easy. It'll be simple stuff. It'll help us kind of, streamline some of this review stuff as well. I feel like my screen got a little fuzzy. So hopefully you got your drugs, agonists, antagonists, and some of the sleep stuff. You guys are going to be, for your homework assignment, you're going to be looking at some of the common sleep disorders, and you're going to be looking at, some of the ideas or theories about why we sleep, and maybe why we dream as well. But all right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Please pay attention to the videos. Please take your notes. Try not to fall behind these. All right. See you guys.